Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After we through the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A, we answer fans questions. Lots of injury news, which sucks. I feel like we've talked through some good injury news, though. Some good injury news, which is good. We'll start with Jevon Holland. He showed concussion-like symptoms, obviously a brutal collision against the Philadelphia Eagles. He was able to come back in that game, but he reported concussion-like symptoms. Don't know why I started that. Concussion-like symptoms the next day. Hopefully, he does not. Obviously, it's a little bit in doubt that he might miss the New England game, which sucks, because this is related to some of the other injury news we're going to talk about later, especially when it pertains to the secondary. It's not a concussion yet. Hopefully it won't turn into one. So he could still play Sunday against the Patriots, and hopefully he does. Speaking of that collision, David Long Jr., who did not return to the game due to that collision when he was being evaluated for a concussion, he will be cleared to play versus the Patriots, which is good news. This comes from Pro Football Rumors, by the way. Weird. And all the injuries the Dolphins have had this year have been weird. Hopefully they both can play. They both had really good games against the Eagles before they ended up getting hurt in that game. And obviously Jevon Holland is a very big part of the defense. He's been shackled and chained this entire season, Jevon has, because of the fact that he's had to help the corners out a lot every game. And Vic has to put him in places. I'm sure he wants to use him more, and let him make some more plays, because Jevon Holland is a phenomenal playmaker. But he's, like I said, he's been more shackled because of the fact that the two corners on the outside it's been a problem all season, and it was a big problem in that game, especially because both of them were out. And teams consistently, when you watch teams attack this Dolphins defense, they attack either the other side when Xavier has been playing, or in this case, it's Cater Kohu and Eli Apple are playing. And every time Cater's lined up on the outside, teams have gone at him. So again, it sucks that Jevon's been shackled, but this next news story comes from various outlets, whether you want ESPN, Bleacher Report, a bunch of Dolphins beat writers, and Mike McDaniel said Jalen Ramsey has had no setbacks. He's been obviously trending in the right direction. I would suspect he's either going to play in this game or against the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopefully it's against the Patriots, because I just want to see Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey play together, and I really want to see Jalen Ramsey play in this defense in general. I love Jalen Ramsey. I love his game, and I love Xavier Howard too. And to watch those two play together, and especially the way that the defensive front is playing. I mean, this team, despite what everybody's saying, the front seven has played really good football this year. They were productive again against the Eagles, which is probably the best offensive line in the NFL. I think maybe the Eagles had one more sack or two. I think one more sack than we did against them. We had 3 sacks, I think, in total for the night. And we've pressured Jalen pretty well, made him make a few mistakes, a few bad throws. And so I think the defense, and I've said this before, and I think they proved it last night, I think when the secondary gets healthy, and hopefully Jevon doesn't miss the Patriots game, I think this is a top 10 defense. And it made me even more confident in that, the way the Dolphins played run defense against the Eagles, and they corrected a lot of mistakes, which we'll talk about later. And the Eagles tried to do a lot of the things that other teams have done in the run game against us in that game, and it didn't work. It was nice to see Vic Fangio adjust and correct those mistakes that we've talked about on the show before. But yeah, I just really want to see the defense healthy. They have been all season. Perry Nickerson is playing significant snaps for the Dolphins. I know that's really frustrating a bunch of fans because of the fact that why would you spend a second-round pick on a corner, who's a very talented one, by the way, and not utilize him in some way? Cater Kohu, who has, listen, Cater is a nickel corner. He's not a bad player. He made his fair share of plays in this game. He missed his fair share of plays in this game. He's not a boundary player. I think we can definitively say that. All of his bad plays throughout his career have come from the boundary. He's still a phenomenal defensive back. I think he still has a bright future in the NFL, especially when he plays inside. He's a great tackler. He does have great instincts. He's a very good cover player when he's in the inside. But that's just not his position. And then Eli Apple, who, God bless him, had a pretty decent game for Eli Apple standards last night. But he's not the answer either at that position. So I'm very excited to see the players that we want to see at those positions. But it's weird that Cam Smith hasn't got any reps there. I think that's it for the news. I don't think we missed too much. We talked about Jeff Wilson coming back. Obviously, he played a little bit in this game. We saw a little bit of Chase Claypool. There's no trade deadline stuff. I know a lot of Dolphins fans. I mean, at this point, I would have said corner would be a huge need. Because I don't think... I mean, linebacker, you can make an argument. But I think Javon and David are really starting to play better ever since the Giants game. I thought they've gotten better every week since then. And they really played their best game against the Eagles. So I don't know if that's necessarily a huge need. And especially since David's not hurt. But I wouldn't be mad if we got someone like Levante David. I know a lot of Dolphins fans want that, but there's not really been any chatter on the trade deadline thing. If they want to make a move, they can. The Dolphins have a first-round pick. They're a really good team. They don't really need it. If there's a starter out there, maybe someone interior D lineman, maybe an offensive lineman they can pick up because of the injuries that they've suffered there. Obviously, Isaiah Wynn, who I don't think we have an update on, but that was a huge loss in that game, especially against, they have the Eagles have the best interior defensive lineman in the NFL. It's not even an argument. They're really, really good on the interior. Here we go. I'm sorry I didn't even bring this up, but Isaiah Wynn is expected to miss multiple weeks with a quad injury. I forgot to put that in the docket. So Isaiah Wynn's missing multiple weeks with a quad. Maybe they go out and get an offensive lineman. I don't know who in the world is going to get rid. And I've said this multiple times. Like, it's really hard to get anybody to get rid of a starting offensive lineman unless it's a really bad team. I don't know who they could really get. Maybe someone from Denver, possibly. This is really the only thing I could think of. But that's something they need to really consider because he's been playing phenomenal. This is like the worst luck of all time. He played phenomenal football for us, coming over from New England, and really helped solidify that offensive line. So that is definitely an area where the Dolphins should consider looking for someone to come in and kind of help the offensive line out. Because, Lester Cotton came in that game and did not play well at all, and that is definitely a position that they need to look into. Good news is they still do have Liam Eichenberg, who can play guard if they need him to. And if the Dolphins don't make a trade for a guard, then I could totally see Eichenberg playing that position. But we'll see what they end up doing at the end of the day. And Jalen Waddle is another one I forgot to bring up. It seems like he's okay. It doesn't seem like he's bad. Like, it seems like he's fine. I mean, he did come back in that game. I don't really remember when he injured his back, but he seems to be okay, which is good. But yeah, the Isaiah Wynn thing is going to be interesting to see how they handle the guard position. I think that's it for the news. I mean, overall, it sucks to lose Wynn. I mean, we've lost A-Chain too. We've lost a lot of really important pieces. And when people were like, "Oh, the Eagles they have injuries too," they don't have their best players played. We're talking about the Dolphins' best players that are missing time, not Blankenship and like okay safeties. Like, we're talking about the best players on the team missing time, not okay starting NFL players. Like, if they had a bunch of, like, AJ Brown was hurt, or Swift was hurt, or Carter was hurt, stuff like that, then yeah, I totally could, I get it. But we're talking about the best players on the team, and their best players were playing in the positions that they needed them to play in. The Dolphins are missing really, really important pieces to their team. That we're talking about multiple Pro Bowls, All-Pro players that missed time and missed that game. I mean, we're talking about the league leading rusher in the NFL before he got hurt. Like, these aren't players that are okay. These are very important pieces to the puzzle. And so I thought that was a little bit ridiculous. And I'm excited to get him back. Like, I really saw a lot of, and I guess we can transition into the game itself. But the Dolphins fall to the Philadelphia Eagles 31-17. If you look at the defensive stats, the total yards isn't great, but the third down efficiency, the Eagles were 4 for 12 on third down. The Dolphins converted the same exact amount of third downs. It was just their fourth down efficiency that was so good. They were 4 for 4 with obviously everybody. The quarterback sneak play that they came up with has been very good for them. They had one more sack than us on the day. They allowed 3 sacks. We allowed 4, which was weird when people were like, "Oh, the Eagles are dominating both sides of the line of scrimmage." No, that's not true. I didn't think that was true the entire night. I thought our defensive line played its best game all year. It's not even close. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, Christian Wilkins, even Raekwon Davis. I think that was one of the best games of his career, honestly. He played a really, really good game. David Long, his best game as a Dolphin. I thought we were really matched up with them well up front. I didn't think that was a problem. Now, on the other side of the ball, we really couldn't block the Eagles consistently. On the offensive side of the football, we were just too hurt. We had 3 people on the left side of the offense that were hurt in that game, and it showed. We really struggled to block them, and that was one of the bigger reasons why the offense, I think not even the biggest reason why the offense struggled. We just couldn't block their front 7, and that's, I mean, a lot of people can't block their front 7. And the run game really hurt us. And despite all of that, I thought the offense, and Tua especially, I thought played a really good game when everything around him wasn't perfect. He made a lot of really nice throws in this game. Obviously, the one on the right side wasn't great at the end of the game. I'm sure you would like to have that one. I hate to even say that cliche. I'm sorry, everybody. I just want to apologize to everybody before I even finish that. Yeah, it wasn't. I think it was probably his worst throw of the year. Still, it's weird that every game, and a lot of people have pointed this out, where route combinations continue to run, a lot of people running the routes into other people's routes, messing up plays, and that happened multiple times in this game as well. I don't know what the issue is. Obviously, too, as said on the road, the communication has been really bad, and this is the second road game against a really good opponent where it's really affected the team, and that helped lead. I mean, literally, Jalen Waddle brought Darius Slay over to that play, or that ball was never going to be intercepted anyway. And who knows, Raheem Mostert might have caught that because he was coming back to the ball, and he did get past his defender. And it was actually a really cool play that should have been a touchdown. Raheem Mostert, the play was designed to go to Mostert, and he was wide open. They got him matched up on a middle linebacker. He would have scored a touchdown, but obviously the play ended up getting messed up by both ends. It was not a good ball, and I don't know why Jalen Waddle ran like a corner out into the wheel. It is what it is. But I want to focus the defensive side of the football. We corrected a lot of mistakes on the front 7. A lot of teams have run some sort of action on the right or left side, faking screens and running the football, and especially out of the shotgun is where the Dolphins have struggled stopping the run. And I thought in this game they did a really good job. They switched up some things schematically in this game. They did a really nice job blitzing on rundowns. So Vic made a conservative effort to fix that, and that was the first time I think all year that we've seen like not a major adjustment, because obviously they've been playing Christian Wilkins at defensive end a lot more, which I think has helped. But I think that really, he called his best game as a Dolphins defensive coordinator so far. And I think if we were healthy, I mean, every play was to A.J. Brown to keep the ball, especially at the end in the fourth quarter. A.J. is just so hard to tackle in the open field, and especially when he was on Eli Apple, that was a big problem. Eli Apple is not ever since, I mean, that's been pretty clear all year. He's struggled to tackle in the open field, and the Eagles took advantage of that in this game. But that's where they really were hurting. They're really hurting, and I think Vic, it would have been interesting to see how this game would have played out if Jalen and X could have gone, or even just one of them could have played, because I thought he did a lot more adjusting and mixing things up throughout the game. He's done a lot of that in the second half or even the fourth quarter, but I thought throughout the entire game, Vic was changing a lot of stuff up, and I thought that he called his best game and made a lot of really nice adjustments in this game. In the front seven, people forget Jalen Phillips has missed a lot of games this year. He does make a difference on the front, and he made a big difference in this game. Again, A.J. Brown was just was an issue all night for the Dolphins, and it's, they tried double teaming him. It wasn't like the Stephon Diggs thing. Even the double move on Kader Kohu, which pretty much sealed the game for the Eagles on third down. I think that was on third down. The deep ball, it was a really crazy catch by A.J. Brown. But, it's like, well, maybe if we had, who knows what would have happened if X or Jalen were there. But, again, I want to point this out, and the defense played, I think, its best game from a coaching standpoint, and I think the front seven had its best game of the season. And I was really encouraged by that. It sucks, even Tua said it, Mike said it after the game. He thought the defense played well enough to win the game, and they did, and they were really, really hurt too. So I still think this defense can be special, despite what other people think. If they can just get healthy, this defense, I think, can be really, really, really special, and I think it's just going to continue to get better, and it's gotten better every game, which is good. And I'm excited to see what they look like against New England if they can get all those pieces together. Because I think this defense can be a dominant defense, not just a good one, if the corners are there. Because they don't really have a lot of weaknesses on the defense at all. And Deshaun Elliott I think that was the biggest question mark going into the season. He's played really good football for them. Deshaun Elliott's been really good. So if they can just get healthy, and hopefully they can. Offensively, there's not a lot to talk about. I just think we just couldn't block well. It's really, 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 there's not a whole lot of secret. I don't think there was bad play calling. I thought it was actually really good play calling. A lot of the plays, Tyreek Hill should have walked into the end zone. Ball bounces off his knee. The Raheem Mostert that should have been a touchdown, but the Waddle runs their route into him. Like, there were, the play calling wasn't the problem. I thought it was a good call. The game was called well. We couldn't do much with the offensive line, and especially when Wynn got hurt, that was devastating to the offensive line. Austin Jackson, I thought, played good. Kendall Lamb struggled a little bit. In Austin Jackson, he didn't do great in the run game, but he did I think a fine job in the pass game. He wasn't the problem. But it was just not. Offensive line had its worst game. Yeah, it really did. We missed Armstead. We missed Connor, and we missed Connor in the run game. I thought a lot, and we missed Isaiah when he eventually left. So I think that was the issue. I know that was the issue in this game. What else? Offensive. Is there anything else I want to bring up? Not really. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I noticed. Shout out to Julian Hill, who's been getting a lot of playing time. He's done a really good job motion blocking this year. Nothing else really. I'm actually really happy with the way Tua played. He made a lot of big throws in this game. And just for the love of God, all it really comes down to is that we actually had the same yards per play as the Eagles, which was 5. They obviously had more total yards than we did. I think that was really the difference in the game, is the Eagles' offensive line just kind of blocked, especially in the past game, blocked better than we did. And I think the injuries were a huge part. I know a lot of people were complaining about the officiating, and yeah, it wasn't great. I don't really have anything to add to that. I think I was equally as upset as everybody else. I mean, the face mask on Cedric Wilson was really bad. I don't know why or how that was missed. The Julian Hill holding call was really bad. I mean, if we put like a side by side of what the Eagles do on screens and what we did on screens, and they missed holding. Obviously people point out the David Long one. There was a Jalen Phillips one in there that should have been holding. So it's like it was weird. It was definitely not evenly called. It was very strange. So yeah, the officiating wasn't great. I don't know, okay, I'm not saying that was the reason we lost this game, but it definitely didn't help. I mean, it took a lot of big plays off the board. It took 7 off the board in the turnover. That was holding though. I'm not gonna try to act like it wasn't, because it was. But yeah, the officiating wasn't great. I mean, no penalties on the Eagles was kind of wild. And offensively, especially with the Eagles secondary, there was a few moments where it was like, okay, this is all right. Yeah, I think the biggest difference in the game was the offensive line play for the Dolphins wasn't great. It was pretty bad. What else do I want to add to this game? There was something else I wanted to bring up. The beat writers of this dang franchise, dude. It makes you want to throw up, okay? I hate the beat writers sometimes. Some of them make good points. Sometimes I'm not saying that they're wrong all the time, because they're not. They do make good points. But, some of the stuff that they say and get away with, if you guys remember in the offseason, they really, the defense was going to be the strengths of this team. The offense has looked terrible the entire. I have such a hard time believing that. How did this offense look bad in practices? How? Someone explain that to me, please. They didn't. There's no way they did. There's just no way they did. We're talking about a historically great offense right now. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So you go from that to some of the stuff that these dudes say, bro. I mean, the 49ers just lost to the Vikings tonight. Okay? The Colts almost just beat the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens lost to the Colts with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback. And they just beat the Lions 38-6. And it's just what are they talking about? What are these people talking about? The Dolphins lose to one of the best teams in the NFL. They were really injured. And somehow that means the Dolphins are a lesser team. They're 5-2. It's what is going on? And then they Dolphins fans are terrible. They can't take criticism. Well, it's okay, but you guys are also kind of out of control too. Some of the opinions you guys have had and the way that they sway back and forth on their opinions is very weird. The whole narrative that this team hasn't beat anybody is actually laughable. Every great team doesn't play a above 500 team every week. That is ridiculous, okay? And yes, I could name so many great teams that have lost to lesser teams and went on to win the Super Bowl. There's endless amount of them because it happens every single season. It happens. You're not going to win every game you play. And to say that the Dolphins can't beat a good team in the NFL, is actually ridiculous. And I do love the fact that when people pointed out, the Dolphins have a really tough schedule to start. Can they get over it? Can they survive it? And they did. And you know what? The Chargers are a good team. Their record might not be great, but they're a good football team. And I don't know, man. It just really hurt. It hurts. It just doesn't make any sense, dude. We're 5-2. Relax, everybody. It's okay. It's we lost. It's fine. We weren't 100%. that wasn't the best version of the roster by any stretch of the imagination. So relax. It's fine. We're gonna be better next week and we're gonna be way better when we get healthier. And it was really nice to see the defense play better and really trend in the right direction. But I don't know. I just think it's a little bit of an overreaction by everybody. There's still plenty of good teams that we can still beat, and to say the Dolphins can't do that is a little ridiculous. And the Dolphins aren't frauds, by the way. I've seen a lot of people say that. You don't put up historically great numbers by being lucky. That doesn't make any sense. And offensively, I'm not worried about this team. The guard position is going to freak me out a little bit with the injuries. So, I don't know. I just think it's a little bit of an overreaction. It did hurt that we lost that game. I'm not going to lie. I really, really wanted to win that game. And I thought we really had a chance to win that game. But the injuries just continued to pile up as the week went along. And like I said, I'm really pretty happy with where the team is right now. I think Vic's a phenomenal coach. I like the way he's coaching the defense. It is getting better. Mike McDaniel's still a really good play caller. We didn't have the horses to win the race in this game. And it is what it is, and hopefully we can get those guys back and they're ready to go on Sunday. So I think it's a little bit of a ridiculous overreaction. And this team is still very good and is still a very good football team. And like I said, that wasn't the best version of the roster. I hope we can make an offensive lineman trade, possibly, especially with the injury to Isaiah Wynn. I think we're all kind of wanting that. But yeah, I'm still very confident in the team. And these beat writers, dude, are out of control sometimes. It's just out of control with some of the takes that they have. Yeah, I'm not panicking at all. I think this team is actually going to be a lot better as the year goes on. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about the Dolphins. Are you overreacting? And one point I want to make is they can't compete with the best teams in the NFL. They did, and they were extremely hurt, and this was a very close game throughout. It was a one-score game in the fourth quarter, and the Dolphins were hurt. When any other team is hurt, big market team is hurt, they throw out every, whatever excuse there is in the book. I mean, the Cowboys have lost to the Cardinals. The 49ers have lost to the Vikings. The Browns are a good team, but they lost to the Vikings. Are the 49ers a bad team now? No. So it's ridiculous, dude. It's actually ridiculous. If you actually could watch that game and think, can the Dolphins compete with that team? And you think no, I think it's a little ridiculous. Especially if the team is healthy. I think they can beat anybody in the NFL. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next one.